Like, oh my gosh, 75. And I was just like, yeah, how much I weigh? Remember that?
I made it to Los Angeles. I hit a workout. Woke up pretty early today. And now we're about to eat. First meal of the day, 4 o'clock p.m.
Turbo takes wasted energy and uses it
Hello. Steak I ordered. And she got short rib pasta. Okay. Oh, she also ordered some steak.
I accidentally
and rice. Fried chicken with brioche and my beautiful madame. Short rib pasta.
It does look really good, actually. Crispy fried chicken.
You guys put sugar on your rice?
Yeah. The ones I know, they know.
Picanha.
Relax.
You gonna cut it up?
Yeah, maybe please cut it for me.
All cut up? Go ahead. Some picanha. Eu falo português.
Oi.
Você fala português?
Ai,
Assim você me mata.
It's bulk season again.
Guys, we're stuffed. The food was amazing. 10 out of 10. 5 stars. You have to check out Bossa Nova. It's honestly making us want to go to Brazil. What city should we go if we end up going? Please let us know. Peace. Damn, y'all, this is giving me nostalgia. Y'all remember this building?
Yeah. Look, Kenny's apartment, Janae's apartment.
Good evening, gentlemen, and a few of you ladies that may be listening. This is Spiritual Art of War, back at it again with another episode. And this time, we're gonna go back into the discussion about Love Island. Now, I've not watched any of these episodes. I don't care to. I'm only doing social commentary on certain aspects of it that is coming out and what these black women are complaining about online. As you know, I did one on Nick Alondria, or Nick and Alondria, which is, the main focal point for the Swirler love story, or the divestment love story. And there's actually been some new information that has come out about another swirly couple that I didn't even know about, because again, I'm just getting this as a secondhand account, just seeing what's going on or seeing what's viral on social media. And there was another couple, so-called black woman by the name of Janae, and so-called Latino by the name of Kenny Rodriguez. Now, Kenny Rodriguez is Dominican. He's lighter skinned, and she's like a dark-skinned black woman. And they actually, I guess, ended their relationship, or the relationship dissolved on the show. And it was exposed that Kenny was only with her to chase clout. And I'm thinking that part of the reason why that happened is because there was the situation and the clout that whole Nick Alondria stuff was getting. It was the one that was getting the most clout and traction on social media, and so I think he stuck with it, and he, was exposed in his text message that he wasn't interested in her. He didn't find her attractive. He doesn't like black girls, and he's only, in the relationship for the sake of clout, so it could benefit him. And interestingly enough, when it ended and they were both on their social media, he was trying to make it seem like it was a split that was like, that they both decided it was no harm, no foul type situation. But the black woman, Janae, she was like, no, let the people know what kind of person you really are. And it was exposed that he doesn't like black women. He's not interested in black women. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean he's not interested in, what Afro-Latina woman, maybe of a certain complexion or hair texture or features, but he's not interested in black women. And I don't know what that means, because sometimes that could mean he's not interested in black American women. Okay? Because it doesn't mean he might not be interested in Amara La Negra. So, because you got to remember that in Latin America, black or is not really a racial category. There's negro, which is more of a descriptive category. But if you look at like the breakdown of censuses in Latin America, they don't have like a category like that generally, right? So maybe that's where he's coming from, but nonetheless, he probably is more of those Mejaloa, La Raza, and Blanqueamiento type of time, which is something that I actually known about for over 20 years. You know, I studied it as part of sociology. I had a class that dealt with Latin American history, and I learned it. In fact, I even took one of my language components was Spanish, okay, as part of my degree. Okay, we had to have a minor and a language component. Language can include sign language as well, you know, but any language component, you had to take like a certain amount of hours to fulfill the degree requirements. So I got kind of familiar with certain aspects of Latin American history. That's a whole nother story I'll probably go into another day, of like my experience with being exposed to certain aspects of it during college, or learning about some aspects of the history, real deep stuff. So a lot of stuff that people talk about with like the Argentina and, you know, them getting rid of black people, I learned that in college, bro. Okay, I learned that in college. Saw a documentary, well, not a documentary, a movie, where I don't know the name of the movie, but the movie's a Latin American based movie, and it was like some upper class, like Argentinians from, you know, back in the day. They're sitting at a dinner table and they're talking bad about black people in Argentina. Okay, so that's when I found out about the whole history of black people in Argentina, which is a very dark history. You know, that's the reason why you get so many. They believe in eugenics. They believe in a white ethno state. This is all well documented. They can't even run away from this history. It's all true. Well, anyway, that stuff seeps into relationships as well. Now, that doesn't mean all Dominicans think like this. You know what I'm saying? Because there are people, there is a growing amount of Dominicans who, you know, don't like that history, and they're rebelling against that mentality. Trust me, they're all over social media. You know, they don't look at themselves as like this special group of people. They understand, like, you know, racism and white supremacy. In fact, I'll even say this. Now, he was more, you know, medium complected. He looked like I can't think of, there's a particular actor that I can't think of his name. I'll put it like this. There was a guy I knew. I was part of a Black Student Alliance for Men. It was called SAB, Student of African American Brotherhood. It was a organization in college that me and a few of my friends were a part of, and one of the former members was a Dominican guy who was born and raised in the Bronx. I think he went to Fordham University, and for his law degree he went to the University of Texas at Austin, and he was part of SAB, and he was super duper pro-black, okay, especially pro-black men regardless of their ethnicity. Okay, so that's the first time I ever met a Dominican person, right? Because I'm, you know, me being a Houston guy, you know, we don't come across Dominicans. So, you know, that's my first interaction. So my first Dominican person I ever met was not on that type of time at all. Trust me. And he had like a black wife. You know what I'm saying? And she wasn't Latina. She was like a black American. And he was a lawyer. And he was relatively young when we met him too. He might have been like late 20s. You know what I'm saying? Like, or early, he might have been like 30. But he looked young because he kept himself in good shape. You know, and he was, you know, giving us the rundown about the reality of, like, you know, being an educated black man in America, you know. And he talked about how, you know, he had to form, you know, how he had to have so many skills to make himself a lot more qualified, you know, make himself impressive. So he would talk about that, you know. So this is not to knock on Dominicans, okay? This is just part of Latin American culture. But guess what? This stuff seeps into Black American culture too. So-called FBA. What are we talking about now? See, Tariq, that's why he had to block me. Because I know a lot. I mean, I'm deep into history, okay? And I've been studying history since I was a child. No cap. Okay, I'm not one of these Johnny come latelys to a lot of history information, you know. And when it comes to Black American, FBA as he calls it, which I don't call it FBA because FBA clearly is no longer not a lineage. It's clearly a membership. It's an organization. Okay, because they don't even have a lineage rule on who is not and who is FBA, contrary to popular belief. And I will go into the reality of how I'll expose that beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, they had groups like Jack and Jill. You had the Blue Vein Society. You also had the whole Creole thing. Okay, the Louisiana Creoles. You have people that are part of the Louisiana Creoles that do not want to associate with the darker skinned people. Not only do they want Creole, they want the lighter Creoles, because you can be darker skinned and be Creole. Creole is more of a culture, there's a language to it, but there's an aspect of being Creole, what I would say is an acceptable Creole, the gens de la couleur, okay? The acceptable Creole, which many of those were descendants of the slave owners and slave women. Okay, they were the free people of color in the Louisiana. Okay, so there's a whole, what's it called? You have plaquage, real deep stuff that Tariq wouldn't want to go into, because then it would expose that he is hiding certain aspects, the ugliness of Black history in America that was self-inflicted on a social level. Brown paper bag test. This is all stuff that really happened. But what happened is he'll point to Dominicans and what they stood on and what they were pushing due to the effects of white supremacy as well. Okay, so yeah, I'm going there. Okay, and we'll get deeper into some of these topics as well. You better believe it. So here's the thing with Black women. Black women want to be accepted by everybody outside of Black men, because to them that is the ultimate sense of validation. But guess what? This is the reality of what it is, and this is what I know it to be. Black women, because they're so insecure, not all of them, but a large chunk of, especially darker skinned Black women, they can even be good looking. Like I think Alondra is a good looking woman. Okay, she's definitely not ugly. She's very, well put together. She keeps herself in good shape. She knows how to dress. I'm not really a big fan of the hair. You know what I'm saying? I think she would look better with natural hair if she did like the natural curls and stuff like that. But, you talk about a Black woman's hair, it's like talking about, it's like sacrilege. Okay? And so it's not like she can't get Black dudes to like her. I guarantee when she was at Tuskegee, she was getting chased down. There's no doubt about it. Because even the video that I seen before the show, how I kind of got, seen her before, I was like, yeah, this girl looks familiar. She, dudes was going crazy in the little comments, like, yo, dang, who's she? Yo, she bad. She had a little interview, the little street interviews where those, guys will interview random females on the street. So it's not like she's being overlooked. And that's what Black women will promote. They'll be like, oh, see a white man showing her love, but Black men, they would never show her love because she's dark-skinned and they don't like dark-skinned Black women. And her features, they don't like those features. They like more of the exotic features. Stop it. Because technically she has exotic features. She has high cheekbones. That's an exotic feature. Okay, exotic just simply means out of the ordinary. Okay, some people will say strange. Okay, or uncommon. Okay, not when you go around the USA, you don't see a lot of people with high cheekbones like that. Okay, so that is considered an exotic feature. But Janae, a lot of the females on this Love Island show are good-looking women. I wouldn't say they're all baddies, but they're all good-looking women. You know what I'm saying? They're definitely pleasing to the eye, so they're not considered ugly. So these are women that they can get men of other races. It's not like they would struggle getting men of other races. Okay, but because of the dynamic of the show and the controversy surrounding race and ethnic relations You know, of course, the topic of interracial dating is one of the biggest. The idea that one thing with black women is that they don't understand that men have their type, and you can never force a man to change his type. Now, does that mean that men are stuck on one type of woman for a relationship or for marriage? No. Okay. In fact, I would even say that most men that end up dating outside their race probably were not even seeking to date outside their race. It just kind of happened. You know, I think location has a large part to do with it as well. Okay, location changes everything. Because you can like black women, but if you're living in Arizona and there's a lack of black women, you're probably not going to end up with a black woman. It just is what it is. Just like a dude who says, man, I like Dominican woman. You know, you from New York, you like Dominican woman, but you move to, you know, LA, you might end up with a Mexican woman. El Salvadorian, Guatemalan. You know? So it's not really like cut and dry. And what women do is they project how they move. Because women have types. And they tend to stick to it. That's why you see women go back to back dating the same type of pookie guys, the same type of, like, you'll literally look at the exes and it's like they all have something similar. But you'll look at a man, and a man, he'll switch up. He'll literally, that's why women have to go out of their way to divest. They got to announce it. Oh, I'm divesting. They got to really like go out of their way and mentally prep themselves to like say that they're going to another group of men. You know, and then they got to like curtail themselves differently. A man could just be who he is, and he's still going to could end up with another race of woman. Just being himself. You know, these women will have to go out of their way. They got to change the way they talk. They got to change their attitude. You know what I'm saying? You ever see those women? They got to switch up the way that they really are to fit in with the kind of man that they want to pursue. They become chameleons. Men, it's hard for men to become chameleons because you just can't act like, if you're a man, right? And you like hip hop, right? You like wearing your clothes a certain way. You're not going to see a black man going from dressing with like, you know, Air Force Ones, G-Star denim jeans, and like, you know, bathing ape hoodies, and then all of a sudden he gonna switch over to preppy. He just gonna switch over to just yacht club. He gonna be wearing freaking yacht shoes and stuff. He gonna switch over to wearing, you know, looking like Zach Morris. We just don't do that. We don't do that. We don't switch up like that. You know? That's why women try and force those men to do that, because they really want that. It's just like you seen with Kayla Nicole. All right? Kayla Nicole with Travis Kelce. Because she really likes the hip hop swag, because she really likes the man with the bald fade and that type, and the fitted hats, or, you know what I'm saying, like that type of clothing, that's what she had him on. You know, she started doing the Ken doll with him. That's the same thing with Russell Wilson. You know, she didn't want to go too far with it to try and make him 50 Cent or, you know, Future, but you see, she tried to swag him up. You know, she tried to make him look cooler, because again, she's not comfortable with who he really is. So these women, they'll go out of their way. Men don't really do that. You know, if we get a woman and she has a certain type of style, the only thing we might switch up, it just depends, right? You know, you might want her to dress more conservative, right? But you're probably not going to change her style too much. You're probably going to allow her to still be within what she's comfortable with style-wise, but maybe you might her less revealing clothing. That might be the only thing you might do, right? But Now, of course, there's like a religious change in values. That's a whole different ball game, right? If a man changes his belief system, that's different. But men are not like women, and women have a hard time understanding that. That's why this whole situation really hurts them. But the guy was just trying to get his bag up, his clout up, and he used the thirsty one. Okay, and that's what happens when these women are thirsty for this type of validation. They end up looking like fools. And this is why I said it before, and I'll say it again. Interracial relationships between black women and non-black men, especially white men, and in some cases Latinos, they end up being very janky. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, somebody who's been on the planet for 4 decades. I've seen so many relationships like this. Janky. It's not authentic. It's just janky as hell. Okay, it's very superficial. It's very like, look at us, look at me. Go through all them couples. A lot of those couple pages, like on YouTube and TikTok, that blow up, a lot of them that blow up is people trying to live vicariously through a black woman and her relationship with a non-black man, and they just go viral. Dude, you'll see, and that just lets you know how rare it is, because that's why people watch it. But like, you'll see like a black couple, like you'll see a black man with a non-black woman, and he'll just be enjoying life. He'll just be regular. You won't even know. Look, there's some guys that I've seen on social media that have non-black girlfriends or wives, and if they wanted to, they can run up a bag, like pushing that, like, hey, look at us, we're this interracial couple, and they don't care to do it, bro. They just living their life. But like, if a black woman gets a hold of a non-black dude, and don't let him be decent looking, she's gonna publicize the hell out of that. Look at the King of Queens. She was the one making the money. They were over there making rap songs about being in an interracial relationship. She was over there with her children from a previous relationship with a black man, basically parading him around as like this great stepdad. And then they had, I think, a child together, only for it to be exposed that she was, taking care of all the bills. It was exposed. She was taking care of all the bills. Embarrassing. It is what it is, man. But, this is backlash from Kenny. We'll see what happens. I'm going to tell you this. This situation with Kenny is not going to hurt him dealing with black women. Because there's black women that are going to want to show him that they can be a great girl. So he could actually use it in his favor. Okay? He could say, he never dealt with a black woman before, but he's open-minded to trying again. And I'm telling you that he will be flooded with these low self-esteem black women who just can't get enough, like moth to a flame, bro. So it is what it is, man. I'm not even surprised by it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next